Hello. Today we are going to work through a complete set of solutions for the IGCSE Core Mathematics Specimen Paper B. This is a non-calculator paper, so we will be relying on our mental and written arithmetic skills. Our learning objectives for this session are to solve all questions from the paper, identify and avoid common pitfalls, and present clear, step-by-step working. Before we start, remember the golden rule. Show every step of your working. This helps avoid errors and ensures you pick up method marks. I will use blue and black text and highlight common mistakes in red to help you stay alert. Let's begin with question 1. In our first question, we are given a list of numbers and asked to identify specific properties. Here is the list of numbers: 3, 4, 10, 20, 3, 25, 27, 37, 120, and 130. Part A asks for a multiple of 30. A multiple is a number in the 30 times table. Looking at our list, 120 is the correct answer. A common mistake is confusing multiples with factors. Remember, a multiple is usually larger than the number given. Part B asks for a factor of 50 that is also a square number. Let's list the factors of 50. Now, which of these is a square number? 1 is a square, but it isn't in our list. 25 is a square number, 5 times 5, and is in our list. So, the answer is 25. Part C asks for a common factor of 12 and 20. Here are the factors of 12 and the factors of 20. The common factors are 1, 2, and 4. Looking at our list, 4 and 10 are there, but 10 is not a factor of 12, so the answer is 4. Finally, Part D asks for a prime number between 20 and 30. Prime numbers only have two factors, 1 and themselves. The numbers between 20 and 30 in the list are 23, 25, and 27. 25 is 5 times 5, and 27 is 3 times 9. 23 has no other factors, so the answer is 23. Question 2 asks us to find the reciprocal of 0.5. The reciprocal of a number is simply 1 divided by that number. To make this easier without a calculator, let's write 0.5 as a fraction. So, the reciprocal of 1/2 is 1 divided by 1/2. When we divide by a fraction, we multiply by its inverse. We flip the fraction upside down. The final answer is 2. Common mistake. Thinking the reciprocal is the same as the negative of the number. The negative would be minus 0.5, but the reciprocal is 2. In question 3, Sam has some money. He spends 36% and gives 22% to a friend. We need to find the percentage he has left. First, let's find the total percentage he has used. 36 plus 22 equals 58%. Sam started with the whole amount, which is 100%. To find what is left, we subtract the used percentage from 100. 100 to 58 equals 42%. The percentage of money Sam has left is 42%. Common mistake: forgetting to subtract from 100 and just providing the sum of the percentages spent. Now let's look at question 4. We need to reflect this trapezium in the vertical line L. To reflect a shape, we move each vertex to the opposite side of the mirror line, keeping it the same distance away. Let's look at the top right vertex of the trapezium. It is 2 squares to the left of line L, so its image will be 2 squares to the right of line L. Next, the bottom right vertex. It is also 2 squares to the left of line L. The top left vertex is 5 squares away from line L. We move 5 squares to the right of L to plot the new point. Finally, the bottom left vertex is also 5 squares away. Connect the new points to form the reflected trapezium. Common mistake: translating the shape instead of reflecting it. Remember, the image should be a mirror version, so the orientation changes. We've now successfully drawn the image. It's always a good idea to double-check the corresponding points are equidistant from the mirror line. In question 5, we need to find 5 positive integers based on 4 clues. Let's list the positions. First, the median is 7. In a set of 5 numbers, the median is the middle one. Second, the mode is 13. Since it's the most frequent and must be higher than the median, at least 2 of the numbers must be 13. These go in the last 2 slots. Third, the range is 10. The range is the difference between the largest and smallest number. The largest number is 13. To find the smallest, we subtract 10 from 13, which gives us 3. So the first number is 3. Finally, they must add up to 40. Let's sum what we have so far. 3 plus 7 plus 13 plus 13 equals 36. Subtracting 36 from 40, the missing number is 4. Let's check our list. 3, 4, 7, 13, 13. The checksum, 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 13 equals 40. This is correct. A common mistake is placing the mode in the wrong position, or forgetting that the median must be the middle value once the numbers are in order. Question 6 covers a few different fundamental skills. In Part A, we need the value of the 5 in the number 1,252,800. Let's look at the columns. The zeros are units and tens, the 8 is hundreds, the 2 is thousands, and the 5 is in the 10,000s place. 5 times 10,000 equals 50,000. A common mistake is just writing tens of thousands. The question asks for the value, so write the number 50,000. Part B asks us to round 72.5796 to 3 decimal places. We count 3 digits after the decimal point, 5, 7, and 9. We look at the 4th digit, which is a 6. Since 6 is 5 or greater, we round the 9 up. Rounding 9 up makes it a 10, which carries over to the 7. Our answer is 72.580. We must include the 0 to show it is correct to 3 decimal places. Part C gives us 0.28 times 9.6 equals 2.688. We need to find 28 times 9.6. Notice that 28 is 0.28 multiplied by 100. Because we multiplied one part of the calculation by 100, the answer must also be multiplied by 100. The answer is 268.8. A common mistake here is moving the decimal point the wrong way or the wrong number of times. Question 7 asks us to evaluate an algebraic expression by substituting given values. The formula is t equals 2a minus 3b. We are told that a equals 12 and b equals 5. Let's plug those in. Now we calculate each part. 2 times 12 is 24 and 3 times 5 is 15. Finally, 24 minus 15 gives us 9. Common mistake, be careful with the minus sign if the value for b were negative. Remember that 2 negatives multiplied make a positive. Moving on to question 8. Lee has recorded the number of books sold to 16 people. Here is the data. 1, 2, 0, 4, 2, 2, 3, 0, 3, 4, 0, 5, 2, 0, 3. We need to complete the frequency table. Let's count them carefully. For 0 books, it's already done. Frequency 5. For 1 book, there is only one 1 in the list. Frequency is 1, 2, 3, 4. Frequency is 4 for 3 books. 1, 2, 3. Frequency is 3. For 4 books, 1, 2. Frequency is 2 for 5 books. 1. Frequency is 1. Now, use these frequencies to complete the bar chart. The bar for 0 is already at height 5. The bar for 1 goes to 1, for 2 to 4, 3 to 3, 4 to 2, and 5 to 1. Common mistake, miscounting the data points. It is helpful to cross them off the list as you go. In Part B, we are given a frequency table for magazine sales and asked to find the mean. Here is our table. 1 magazine sold to 8 people, 2 to 2 people, 3 to 4 people, 4 to 2 people, and 5 to 4 people. To find the mean, we first find the total number of magazines sold. We multiply each number of magazines by its frequency. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. And 5 times 4 is 20. Now add these totals together. 8 plus 4 plus 12 plus 8 plus 20 equals 52. There were 52 magazines sold in total. The total number of people is given as 20. So the mean is 52 over 20. To divide by 20, without a calculator, divide by 2, then divide by 10. The mean is 2.6 magazines. A common mistake is dividing the total number of magazines by the number of rows in the table, which is 5. You must always divide by the total frequency, which is 20. In Part 2, Lee says the mode is 8. Why is he wrong? The mode is the most common number of magazines, not the highest frequency itself. The highest frequency is 8. The number of magazines with that frequency is 1. So the mode is 1 magazine, not 8. A common mistake here is confusing the frequency with the data value. The frequency tells you how often something happened. The data value is what actually happened. In question 9, we are dealing with unit conversions. Part A asks us to convert 600 meters into kilometers. There are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. To convert from a smaller unit to a larger one, we divide. 600 divided by 1,000 equals 0.6. Part B is a bit trickier. We need to convert 3 square meters into square centimeters. We know that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. For area, we must square the conversion factor. 1 square meter equals 100 times 100 square centimeters, which is 10,000 square centimeters. So, to find 3 square meters, we multiply by 10,000. 3 times 10,000 equals 30,000. Common mistake, just multiplying by 100 for area. Remember, since it is area, you have to account for both length and width. For question 10, we need to represent x is greater than -2 on the number line. First, we identify -2 on the line. Because the symbol is greater than and not greater than or equal to, we use an open circle. Since x is greater than this value, we draw an arrow pointing to the right, towards the larger numbers. Common mistake, filling in the circle. A filled circle means or equal to. An open circle means the value itself is excluded. In question 11, we need to estimate the total cost by rounding each item to one significant figure. The first significant figure of $28.40 is the 2. The next digit is 8, so we round up to $30. The first significant figure of $5.25 is the 5. The next digit is 2, so we round down to $5. Now we calculate the estimated total for 6 shirts and 4 scarves. 6 times 30 equals 180. 4 times 5 equals 20. 180 plus 20 equals 200. The estimated cost is $200. A common mistake is rounding to the nearest whole number, or 2 significant figures. The question specifically asks for 1 significant figure. Question 12 asks us to work out -8 times 2 plus 3. We must follow the order of operations, often called BIDMAS or BODMAS. Multiplication comes before addition. -8 times 2 equals -16. Now we add 3 to -16. The final answer is -13. A common mistake is adding the 2 and 3 first to get 5, then multiplying by -8. This would give -40, which is incorrect. In question 13, part A, we need the value of 5 to the power of -1. A negative index indicates a reciprocal. 5 to the power of -1 equals 1/5. You can leave it as 1/5 or write it as 0.2. Part B asks for the cube of the square root of 16. First, find the square root of 16, which is 4. Now, we cube that result. 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4. 16 times 4 is 64. The answer is 64. Common mistake, multiplying 16 by 3 or dividing by 3. Remember that powers and roots are about repeated multiplication, not simple multiplication. Question 14 involves finding unknown angles in a composite diagram. In part A, we need the value of x. Notice that x and the angle 100 degrees are interior angles between 2 parallel lines. These are called co-interior or allied angles, and they sum to 180 degrees. X equals 80. So x is 80 because co-interior angles sum to 180 degrees. In part B, we find y. Look at the angles y, z, and 2y. They all meet at a point on a straight line, but specifically, notice that the angle opposite to 100 degrees in the parallelogram is also 100 degrees. However, a simpler way is to look at the angles around a point. Actually, the angle y is an alternate angle to x. So y equals x. Y equals 80, because alternate angles are equal. Finally, in part C, we find z, the 3 angles, y, z, and 2y, meet at a point. Wait, looking closer at the diagram, they form a full circle of 360 degrees. Substitute our value for y. 80 plus z plus 2 times 80 equals 360. 80 plus z plus 160 equals 360. 240 plus z equals 360. Z equals 360 minus 240, which is 120. Common mistake, forgetting the names of the angle rules. You must state alternate or co-interior to get the reasoning marks. For question 15, We are working with the function y equals 30 over x. First, let's complete the table by dividing 30 by each x value. And for the positive values, 30 divided by 1 is 30, 30 divided by 2 is 15, and 30 divided by 3 is 10. Here is our table filled with these values. Now we plot these points on the grid. Notice that as x gets closer to 0, the y values get very large or very small. We must draw two separate smooth curves, one for the negative x values and one for the positive. A common mistake is connecting the two curves across the y-axis. You cannot divide by 0, so the graph is undefined at x equals 0. There should be a clear gap. In part C, we find the order of rotational symmetry. If we rotate this graph 180 degrees about the origin, it looks exactly the same. So, the order of rotational symmetry is 2. Finally, in part D, we draw the horizontal line y equals 25. To solve 30 over x equals 25, we find where the line and the curve intersect. Looking at the x-axis, the intersection is at 1.2. Common mistake. Drawing a vertical line for y equals 25. Remember, y equals a constant is always a horizontal line. In question 16, we have a trapezium with an area of 60 square centimeters. We need to find the height, h. The formula for the area of a trapezium is where A and B are the lengths of the parallel sides. From the diagram, the parallel sides are 8 and 12. 60 equals 1/2 times 20 times h. 60 equals 10 times h. Now we solve for h by dividing both sides by 10. So, the height h is 6 centimeters. Common mistake. Forgetting to multiply by 1/2 in the formula. If you forget, you would get 3 as your answer. Question 17 involves a triangular prism. First, we need to complete its net. The prism has 5 faces, 2 identical triangles, and 3 rectangles. The base rectangle is 3 by 4. One triangle is already attached to the side of length 3. We need to add another identical triangle on the opposite side. Now for the rectangles. One rectangle is 4 units wide. The slanted side of the triangle is 5 units long. Using Pythagoras, 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. So the top rectangle must be 5 units long. Part B asks for the volume. The volume of a prism is the area of the cross-section multiplied by the length. The cross-section is a triangle with base 3 and height 4. The length of the prism is 4. Don't forget the units. Since it's volume, it's cubic centimeters. Common mistake, using the slanted height 5 instead of the vertical height 4 when calculating the area of the triangle. Question 18, Part A, asks for the fraction exactly halfway between 2/5 and 4/7. To find the halfway point, we find the mean by adding them together and dividing by 2. To add these, we need a common denominator, which is 35. Now we divide this sum by 2. The fraction halfway between them is 17 over 35. In Part B, we need to subtract mixed numbers, 3 and 2/3 minus 1 and 2/5. Let's convert them to improper fractions first. Now find a common denominator, which is 15. The question asks for a mixed number in its simplest form. 15 goes into 34, twice with a remainder of 4. Subtracting the whole numbers and then subtracting the fractions separately can be risky if the second fraction is larger than the first. Converting to improper fractions first is the safest method. Question 19 asks us to calculate 4,000 times 70 and give the answer in standard form. First, do the multiplication. Count the zeros. 3 from 4,000 and 1 from 70 makes 4 zeros. To write this in standard form, the first number must be between 1 and 10. We moved the decimal point 5 places to the left, so we get 2.8 times 10 to the power of 5. Writing 28 times 10 to the power of 4. This is not standard form because 28 is greater than 10. In question 20, we are given a solid cone with radius 4 centimeters and a total surface area of 56 pi square centimeters. We need to find the sloping edge length, L. The total surface area of a cone is the sum of the curved surface area and the circular base. Total area equals pi times r times L plus pi times r squared. We plug in our values. Radius r is 4 and total area is 56 pi. 56 pi equals 4 pi L plus 16 pi. Since every term has a pi, we can divide the whole equation by pi to simplify it. Now, subtract 16 from both sides. Divide by 4 to find L. the sloping edge length is 10 centimeters. Common mistake: only using the curved surface area formula πRL and forgetting to add the base. This would lead to the incorrect answer of 14. Question 21 asks us to expand and simplify the expression y minus 6 times y plus 5. We use the FOIL method. First, outside, inside, last. Now we combine these terms, y squared plus 5y minus 6y minus 30. Combine the like terms in the middle. 5y minus 6y is negative y. Common mistake: getting the sign wrong on the last term. Remember, a negative times a positive is a negative. In question 22, part A, we have an equation with powers 8 cubed times 8 to the power of b equals 8 to the power of 12. When we multiply terms with the same base, we add the indices. Subtracting 3 from both sides gives us b equals 9. Part B asks us to simplify 8x to the 5y to the 4 divided by 2x to the negative 7y cubed. First, divide the numbers. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Next, for the x terms, we subtract the powers, 5 minus negative 7. Finally, for the y terms, 4 minus 3. This leaves us with y to the power of 1, or just y. Our simplified answer is 4x to the 12y. Common mistake: subtracting 7 from 5 instead of negative 7. This would give x to the negative 2, which is wrong. Question 23 shows two similar triangles, ABC and FGH. Similarity means the ratio of corresponding sides is constant. Side GH over side BC equals the scale factor. 12 divided by 3 is 4. The larger triangle is 4 times bigger than the smaller one. To find x, which is side AC, we look at its corresponding side in the large triangle, FH. 8 equals 4x. Dividing by 4 gives x equals 2. Common mistake: multiplying by the scale factor instead of dividing when moving from the large shape to the small shape. For our final question, we have a quadrilateral with sides given as algebraic expressions. We are told the total perimeter is 26 centimeters. The perimeter is the sum of all 4 sides. Let's write down our equation by adding them up. 2x minus 1 plus 3x plus x plus 6 plus 2x plus 6 plus 2x plus 6. Now we simplify the left side by grouping like terms. Let's look at the x terms first. 2x plus 3x plus x plus 2x, which equals 8x. Next, we group the constant numbers negative 1 plus 6 plus 1, which equals 6. So our simplified equation is 8x plus 6 equals 26. To solve for x, first subtract 6 from both sides, which gives us 8x equals 20. Now, divide both sides by 8, so x equals 20 over 8. We can simplify this fraction by dividing both the numerator and denominator by 4. 20 over 8 equals 5 over 2. In decimal form, this is 2.5. X equals 2.5. Common mistake: forgetting to include one of the sides in the sum, or making a sign error when combining the constant terms. Always double-check your simplification. We have now completed all 24 questions on the IGCSE Calc Specimen Paper B. We've covered number properties, geometry, algebra, and statistics, all without a calculator. Remember, show every step of your working. Be careful with negative numbers and order of operations. Always check that your units are correct for area and volume. Good luck with your revision.